I simply call myself the Prince of Code because I want to create solutions which help people.
Welcome to Forever a Student podcast, a podcast where the learning never stops. I'm your host, Aubrey Zorai.
Welcome to today's episode of Forever Student Podcast. Today I'm joined by Nkosi Dhanda. How are you, Nkosi?
I'm doing well, Aubrey. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How's China treating you there?
China as well. Things are back to normal, no more lockdowns and so forth. So yeah, it's entering summer now. So temperatures are a bit warm. It's favorable for small games of soccer or touch rugby or generally, walking outside.
That's very cool. As you know, in us, this side is now entering winter. So it is, especially this winter, it's been extremely cold this winter this time. But hopefully we adapt to the situation. So I just wanted to ask you, can you just tell us a brief background about your life?
Okay, so my name is Isheanesu Dhanda. I am 24 years of age. I grew up in Harare, Zimbabwe, in a neighborhood called Greendale. Yeah, pretty much that's who I am.
Same, yeah, we're all Zimbabweans, I guess. So how was it growing up in
Yeah,
Zimbabwe?
yeah, it's interesting. You've got your ups and downs. I witnessed the 2008s and 2007s, with inflation and so forth, parents struggling to put a meal on our tables and paying fees and so forth. But I'm grateful that I was born in Zimbabwe. And I think it has molded me to become the person I am, like being innovative and seeing life through a different lens. And yeah, that's that's all I can say for now.
Being innovative means you're someone who's always like looking at problems and finding solutions. So yeah, the question becomes, how did you then get
Yes.
into tech?
Well, my journey started when I failed my IGCSEs for the ZimSec guys. That's your O levels. I did my first 4 years of high school at Peterhouse Boys. That's from 2012 all the way to 2015. I could classify myself as a late bloomer. I think by then I didn't even know what I wanted to do in life or who I was in life. Like if you could ask my peers who went there at the time, that's the class of 2017. If I can recall, they will tell you that, oh, Danda, even up to now, we're shocked that he's doing software engineering. But as far as my journey started when I then moved towards Shed College after failing my GCSEs, and things took a new leaf from there. Initially, my journey at Watershed started at the basics of life at Watershed. I was a first aider. During the first aid club, it was merely a club called First Aid. And I actually saw that, oh yeah, I've got leadership skills and I was pretty much a good first aider. And then got introduced to the Leo Club, which is the equivalent of Interact for the Lions Club International. And I thrived well in that, and there was a problem initially within the club of low membership retention. Like over the past 2 years or 3 years before my inception into the club, then I just took an interest and just gave myself a task of like, okay, you know what? What if we created posters around the school? And then I introduced myself to graphic design. Initially, I started with a SVG program called Inkscape. I'm not sure if many people are familiar with it. Then I just started being a graphic designer. Then, as the years went on, by the time I was entering my AS and A level, I picked up Python and I realized, oh, okay, so if you really want to breathe life into some of the designs you're making, start with Python. And yeah, gradually I started building small projects, in high school, and it became a tendency where my teachers in high school, especially my chemistry teacher, her name is Gloria Campira, she would always, tease me and be like, Danda, should have just chosen computer science at A level. Why did you choose chemistry? I was doing NPC at the time. I was like, why did you choose chemistry? Because like most of the time, everyone sees you on campus, you walking with your laptop. Then, it's first felt like a joke. And my maths teacher recognized the same problem, aided to my parents during my final consultation day at A level. I'd be like, I'm coming, I know that's your Google. I laughed about it. Then, results came out. I don't really like the results. And genuinely speaking, I think my calling, God was pushing me to my calling already unknowingly. And that's how I ended up picking up software engineering at college. And yeah, right now I'm in my final year, graduating as of January 2024. Yeah, pretty much that's my journey.
That's what I love about people's journeys. It's never straight into programming. It's never just straight into programming. It's just you enjoy the computers first. Then the more you spend time with them, the more you start figuring out certain things and fixing things. Next thing you know, yeah, at the programming level. For me, I had also a similar journey. I think growing up it was mostly computer games, just playing games until I was around Form 2 when I was introduced into web development by my teacher. It was Mr. Matemera. He introduced me to just the simple HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then I didn't really code until like Form 4 when I was doing it for like GCSEs. Then I took it up at A level, and now I'm also doing it at college level, entering my third year in August. That was your intro into tech, right? How was the move to China? Was it straight after high school? You took a gap year?
The move to China was straight after high school. That was around 2019. So into China a few weeks or a few months before the the pandemic happened. So yeah, pretty much that's when I entered China.
Then how was it to settle into China? Especially, I think it's a winter different culture from us in Zimbabwe. Then how was the adjustment period? How long did it take you? Did you ever suffer depression? I've had brothers and sisters who went outside the country and they said at a point you when you're outside there, especially being far from family, you get to a situation where things are just not feeling right.
Yeah, the first year was okay. It was okay. First semester was offline. That was the beauty of it. So I did manage to settle down a bit, but possibly the only flaw was to like get a bank account. For some reason, that was a struggle during my first year. Apparently, Zimbabwe was on a blacklist at the time, which was very astonishing. As we all know, our friend China deals with us a lot. We
Yeah.
import and export to them a lot. And then you get into like Bank of China, be like, I'm sorry, your country. The moment they take your passport, go to the back, that game over. Like literally, that's it. But China has been okay. I think the language barrier is a major issue, especially like, you're coming from Zimbabwe, entering like straight up into your major. That was the unfortunate part in my case. I never did Chinese before, or usually the case is you do 6 months of Chinese, at least you get the certificate called HSK4, then you start your major. But in my case, that was a different ball game. So it was kind of hard on the language side, going to the markets or going to the mall. Now you have to like pull up your translator every time, even in the taxi and so forth. But you get a hang of it, and then you get basic words. You grow within their space and their sphere. And yeah, sometimes you get into trouble, it's a communist state. Like for me, I'm a very outspoken person. I could compare myself to Kudam Sasiwa, if I could put it that way. I've gotten expulsion letters before just by merely standing up to something which was wrong. That's the cultural side of things. When you're in a communist state, you can't say certain things, you can't stand up to certain things, and so forth. Especially during the lockdown, you say something not befitting to their ears, but in your true self, you know that what this is actually wrong and this is what's meant to be right, and you get in trouble for that. But yeah, I've survived. I think I've grown in it, and I think it has made me much of a better leader as a result. And though like school authorities do see me as a rebel, but like from the outside world, like many people are really astonished, like, wow, like Danda, wow, like, actually you're really courageous to like stand up sometimes and say certain things.
I'm just so glad that you have managed to adapt to your new environment and things have gained flow. Happy for you, like you're still alive. So I think that's a plus side, even though you're causing controversies there, but we still see you post. If you go, I think if you go 1 week without posting on Twitter, you know that maybe our friend is in trouble. But otherwise, I think yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Then you mentioned about faith.
About
How about your faith? How much has it played a role in your
oh,
life?
about my faith.
Yes.
Well, grew up in a Christian home. For the first few years of my teen life, seemed more like a chore than actually me believing in, that Jesus is there and there's God and there's everything. It's not that I don't know that didn't exist, but like, how like when you grow up in a typical African home in such a setup, it becomes more of a chore. I think I really started to become a Christian when I finished high school, thereabout. Started reading the New Testament, to get a deep understanding of who Jesus is and his life and what's the meaning of him dying on the cross for us. And yeah, I just took it up from then. And then, I came here to China. Fortunately, they were like Christian fellowships and groups. Unfortunately, it became more of a struggle when, the lockdown happened and so forth. And this end of the world, especially in China, Christianity is kind of a taboo topic. So certain things you have to like do in secrecy. Like they don't accept you being a Christian as much. They know that there is Christianity. They know that there is Christmas. They know that there is Easter. For them, they see it more of as a business rather than a religion because they make a lot of money during Christmas and Easter. So yeah,
Mm.
that's all I could say about my Christian life.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Also, I think most people listening will agree, especially growing up in our Christian homes. As a child, is always wake up early mornings on Sunday, let's go to church. You get there, you're being told to stand around saying you truly don't understand why you're doing these things. It always takes that point when you reach a certain age of maturity where you finally look into yourself and start reading for your own knowledge. Now you're not reading the Bible for you, not just because you're always being told to read the Bible. That's when I feel like most people's journeys do begin. Some people might turn away from it, and at the end of the day, everyone's got their choice to their decision. That's a very interesting perspective you gave us here, especially on the winter secretive of things in China. Like you cannot be a proud Christian like how some of us have the luxury in Zimbabwe and I think most African countries. But I think, of course, you have to adapt in someone's house. Then my question comes to this now. When did you begin the personal branding? The course you done, the Prince of Code. When did that pointer idea finally actualize from it being something which was just in your mind and to like now I want to make an impact in Africa?
Yeah, so on record, my name is actually not Kosi Danda. My legal name is Isheanesu Dhanda.
Oh,
So yeah, actually, many people don't know that. But Bankosi Danda came about with me embracing my Zulu origins because my family is actually not originally from Zimbabwe. They're from Natal, KZN. Well, the story started when, the feud between Muzilikazi and Ushaka and the branching out of certain tribes and so forth from Zululand. So my forefathers moved along a river, which is NKZN, which flows through Swaziland and Mozambique, which is called the Pongola River. And it's famously known for its deep pools. In Shona, Madziva, Dziva is a pool. So that's where I get my totem as well. And when they got into Mozambique, they moved along the Save River, and then they were entered Nolseta, which is present-day Chipinge, and they settled there for some time, and they became like three family names out of that. So there was Danda, Mlambo, and Dube. So the Mlambos and the Dubes, those are my aunts and my uncles. So anyone from Manicaland with the surname Danda or Mlambo who's a Ziva, like I can already, oh yeah, there's my uncle. And then they continued moving along the tributaries of the Save. Then they settled in Buhera, which is in Manicaland. And then years over, the surname, it got diluted towards the Shona side. So it ended up being Danda. So Uh, Isheanesu is, God is with us. And then Kosinati is God with us, is with us. Then the Danda side is just me taking what was truly there before the dilution. So yeah, that's how the brand name came to be. So it's actually NKD. So many people are like the Caucasians in China or the Chinese who can't say Kosinati, they call me NK. Yeah, pretty much that's it. And yeah, actually a strong Pan-Africanist. I believe in valuing where you come from. I've rubbed shoulders with some Germans this side. I'm a Rotarian as well. I'm in the Rotary Club of Shenyang. And when you speak to some of them, they're really proud of their origins. I know this one doctor friend of mine, her name's Dr. Ava. Her origins go all the way up to Norway, but she's American and she still embraces her Norwegian roots. And many Africans don't know where they come from. Yeah. So for me, being Pan-African, proud of where I come from, who I am, who my forefathers are, what they stood for, and where they were going, and where should I take from their journeys as well is really important for me. So as much as Nkosinathi Danda isn't my legal name, but I feel like I'm walking the journey my forefathers walked through yesteryears ago.
You've spoken so much. It just brought back memories of me this semester,
Yeah.
actually, the previous semester when I was learning African studies. It now makes sense why you learn this type of institution. During that point, it didn't make sense. Like, why am I learning this? Doing this. But from what you said, is you begin to embrace most of these things, especially people out there from other countries, they truly embrace this. But some more Africans have this thing of not being proud. They are always like copying other things, never wanting to really embrace them. So for all those people who are listening, the Prince of Code himself has spoken. Let us embrace our cultures. Then on that topic, the Prince of Code, I remember when you first did it on Twitter, it was a bit of a controversial situation. Most people were on your case. Can you explain how the Prince of Code came to be?
Okay, so I call myself the Prince of Code, not that I'm the best at coding within Zimbabwe or Africa. I simply call myself the Prince of Code because I want to create solutions which help people. A prince is a person who is in a position of serving people, not necessarily being the best at everything he or she does. A prince has flaws. I've got my own flaws as well, so, like we all have our flaws, we all have our weaknesses. Maybe I'm not good at cloud, maybe I'm not good at back end, maybe I'm not good at a certain aspect of front end. And I embrace my flaws, but remembering that I'm serving people. I think if anyone has ever passed through my Twitter, they've seen that everything I create has got a purpose and it's serving other people as a result. Whether stakeholders engage with me and be like, hey man, we want to work with you, or they don't, but at least it's inspiring someone out there. I've seen my work has, moved mountains in other people's lives. I've witnessed UI designers like Shonchi Vandire taking the courage to do certain things like the government of Zimbabwe, UI UX, like the redesign of that, the Harare City Council. And I really like that. I'm actually like motivating other people to do more as well. So being a prince is not you being the best at something. It's you serving people. Do you wake up every day and do you serve people and do you inspire people? Are you a model for the next person to look up to and be like, hey man, I want to be like this in the next couple of years? Like, do other people come to an inbox and ask for advice? I don't disclose everyone who comes to my inbox, but I do help quite a lot of people out there. So that's the concept of being the Prince of Code.
I'll say it once again, guys. The Prince of Code is spoken. Those who have heard have heard. That was exactly what you said. Someone who's always there to help others. In my life, personally, you have impacted my life to actually start being like dive deeper into the things I enjoy and actually push out, like show my work to people, even though it might not be the best at the moment, but just doing it every day encourages me to get better. And somehow it becomes like a winter domino effect where me being someone who's small does something, you also impact someone else. So I would like to thank you for your endless hours of working and always commenting on the small things people do. It's really inspirational and motivational to those people who are still on the come up.
You're very much welcome.
the big question, yeah, I think everyone who's listening or who's gonna listen to this episode is Silicon Mutapa. What is Silicon Mutapa? How did that idea come to be? Because I think it's too small, it's growing, but it's something I see a lot of developers are trying to engage in. They're always asking you said the first of May came, we're still waiting, people want more. What is Silicon Mutapa?
Okay, so Silicon Motapa is a subsidiary business unit of Vingo. So I'm actually the CEO of Vingo. So Vingo is a technology company whose history is mainly based on Great Zimbabwe, its economy, its trade, its power and prowess, and its yesteryears of existence. So Vingo is digitalizing Great Zimbabwe. So Silicon Motapa is a tech community. One, two, we're planning to build, no, not that we're planning to build, we're actually building a platform where people can learn how to code, people can apply for jobs, people can mix and mingle with others on the platform. And we're planning to enter into schools where we've got certain factions from as early as primary school all the way up to the professional level, and each leader in that faction will be referred to as a Mwene. And our mascot is the cheetah because we see our members being people who are independent and who can work on themselves and who can solve problems on themselves and who can interact with others to achieve a certain goal. And in regards to content coming up on Silicon Mutapa, for now, we kind of moved everyone from Silicon Mutapa to Dwala. So Dwala is a fintech company taking its inspiration from PayPal, WeChat, Alipay, PayPay, and Pesa, and so forth. So that's what we're mainly building now because we want Silicon Mutapa to have a backing. Actually, we're planning to have a MutapaCon in the next 3 years. That's one of our plans. So if Dwala succeeds, Silicon Mutapa succeeds because Dwala will be the main sponsor of Silicon Mutapa as a result. So right now it's 80% Dwala, 20% Silicon Mutapa.
Thank you for the information. I think a lot of people who wanted to know more about Silicon Mutapa educates gotten better knowledge about it. And for those people who want to know Silicon Mutapa on Twitter, that's where all the information is. You can always be there for the latest updates. Is there another platform people can find about this information, or it's just currently Twitter at the moment?
Currently, it's just Twitter. Then we had opened a GitHub. Haven't worked on it much. We just so far just put a README, and the upcoming projects we're putting into place. There is one which is not really going forward at the moment, which is the Vambo Academy one. Yeah, we had a couple of issues with the team there. So we kind of pulled back that one, but we'll probably want to engage with the SPCA since they don't have any digital platform within Zimbabwe. And I'm sure many people don't know much about the SPCA. So, yeah, we're planning to replace the Vambo Academy app with something to do with the SPCA. But otherwise, everything else you see there, we'll shortly start curating content for it.
Oh, thank you. And for those people who want to join Silicon Mutapa, maybe be in the behind the scenes team, can they just contact you through Twitter? That's fine, right? Or there's not yet openings?
Yeah, you could gladly contact us on Twitter and, tell us who you are, what you do, and, what you want to do for Africa and its children. Because everything we do at Vingo is for Africa and Zimbabwe. So you have to be really pro-African. It's not a matter of you being good. It's a matter of are you embracing Africa? Do you love Africa? And do you love what Africa has to offer? And would you want to fix Africa's problems as a result?
Thank you, Nkosi, for all that information. Hope people reach out to you because I
Mhm.
know there's some people just out there also wanting to be part of the initiative. Then, near the end, what can we expect from the near future from you?
From me, as my life is too dynamic, man. But hopefully, I don't know. I don't know really. I can't predict anything right now because it's just too dynamic. But hopefully, just continuously working for the continent and the country, and hopefully making the initiators, which I'm building with Vingo, to leave a mark in rural Zimbabwe where education is not really that perfect. We're planning to have initiators in rural Zimbabwe in regards to tech. And yeah, pretty much that's it. That's it for now. That's all I could
See,
say.
I see life is an open road. There's really not much you can see. You just say, I'll do what needs to be done. What advice would you give for fellow upcoming Africans?
First of all, embrace your gift. Embrace your gift. Do your gift. Like, university is good. Like, I don't want to be, that radical person be like, no, you shouldn't go to varsity because people don't care about the paper. But no, like, university is good for experience and exposure and so forth. In my case, I could have chosen not to go to university if I really wanted to. But the exposure which I got just from coming to China and meeting and rubbing with other people, whether the relations we had were good or bad, that exposure alone did quite a lot for me. So do your gift, but at the same time, do school as well because your gift to open doors for you. Your gift to make you sit at tables, maybe your own father or your uncles never sat on, just by you doing your gift. So do your gift, work for the continent, because Africa is a blank canvas. It's a white piece of paper right now, and there's still a lot more to do for the continent. Like I think we've just put a small dot of ink at what corner, and the rest is still white. And that's the reason why the Chinese always invest in Africa because they see the potential we don't see. And if you do manage to travel as a young person, please go travel, go meet the world, expose yourself, expose yourself, expose yourself. That's one thing which makes some of my UI designs, really pop up because I've been exposed to quite a lot. Like China's not necessarily the only country I've been to. Offshore Africa, I've been to a couple other countries, but just explore, 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 see the world, see things from a different lens, be radical, be a game changer. Like do the orthodox stuff. I just remember there's this one time I got into an argument with this one guy. I don't know what's his name. I I don't know him personally, but we got into an argument with the Fresh in a Box UI. Be like, no, you can't do this because A, B, C, D. But I think it's about stretching the mind and trying new things. Just go try new things. Like break some rules. Like nice people never finish like first. Nice people always finish last. Break rules sometimes. Stand up for yourself. I'm not when I'm saying break rules. I'm not saying go commit crime. Break certain norms that makes you stand out, that makes you unique, and embrace it. Show it to the rest of the world that you know what, this is who I am, and this is where I'm going. And I would like to encourage people to never underestimate the small steps. Never underestimate the small steps. Many people don't end up being like programmers because they want to finish a 13-hour YouTube video in one day. Guys, that's impossible. That's impossible. Like start small. Like when you go to the timelines, you place on YouTube, you see the timelines. Just take a chunk, maybe 10 per day, or 20 per day, or 30 per day of those subsections, and you'll be surprised by the end of 6 months you'll be able to build quite a lot. Don't gobble a lot of things. I've got this one teacher of mine who used to tell me that if you can't finish a plate of rice in one scoop. Appreciate the small beginnings, appreciate the small steps. You'll get there, you'll get there. So I think pretty much that's what I have to say to everyone who's listening.
Thank you, the Prince of Cold, for the love and time you gave them. I know you're a very busy person, but it was very nice of you to take out the time to have this conversation. I have learned a lot, and I believe that the people who are going to listen to this are also going to learn a lot from you. I hope to do this another time, maybe in the near future when things are at a winter a new level, we come back. This is more like a checkpoint in life where we can always say, remember when we're there, we talked about these things. Now we're here. What have we done? What have we gone above and beyond? What have we changed? But thank you once again for your time.
You're welcome. And if anyone wants to engage me, my Twitter's always open. Gladly, drop a DM, ask a couple of questions, and we kick it off from there.